darkened world. Be ready, be watchful, be faithful. The day that has been set apart, the 25th of August in the year 2025, is not just a random entry on a calendar or another turning of time. It carries the weight of divine appointment. Throughout history, God has marked moments when heaven intersects with earth, when what seems ordinary is revealed to be extraordinary. These are not the inventions of men, nor are they the results of chance. They are sovereign markers placed with precision by the one who holds time itself in his hands. To those who live with eyes open to the spiritual, such days carry significance far beyond what the natural mind perceives. They are signals, appointed hours when destinies shift, when blessings are released, and when the faithful are called to rise to a higher place. When we speak of divine appointment, we speak of the reality that history itself is not a random unfolding of events. Nations rise and fall not by accident, but by decree. Empires stretch across the earth and then crumble into dust, not merely because of armies or economics, but because the hand of God has drawn the line. If he sets boundaries for nations, if he appoints the times of kings, then surely he marks the days of his chosen ones. August 25, 2025 stands in that line of appointed moments, a convergence in which the faithful must be awake. On such a day, there is a call to recognize that God does nothing without purpose. He appoints seasons for sowing and seasons for reaping. He ordains times of pruning and times of flourishing. This date is not about superstition or numerology, but about readiness. The faithful are being summoned to treat it as a holy appointment, a reminder that their steps are ordered, that their lives are written into a greater script, authored by the Eternal. Those who treat it as an ordinary day may pass through it without noticing, but those who are chosen, those who are attuned to the Spirit, will feel its weight. They will sense that the hour demands attention, vigilance, and consecration. Divine appointments are also moments of unveiling. What is hidden is brought to light. What has been delayed is suddenly released. For some, this day will mark the lifting of long, carried burdens, the unlocking of doors that have remained shut, and the release of blessings that seemed out of reach. It is not that the date has magical power, but that God chooses to align his purposes with times and seasons. The faithful who stand ready will recognize the moment and step into it. At the same time, such appointments carry responsibility. To be chosen is to be entrusted. When God marks a day, it is not only for blessing, but also for commissioning. The faithful may find themselves elevated into new callings, given tasks they did not seek, and thrust into battles they never anticipated. That is the nature of divine appointment. It separates those who are content with comfort from those willing to walk the harder road of destiny. Therefore, August 25, 2025 is a call to awareness. It is a trumpet sounding to the faithful, do not slumber, do not waste the hour, do not treat it as common. It is a summons to live awake, to recognize that God moves in history and in personal lives with intention. To miss such a moment is to miss the unfolding of divine purpose. But to embrace it is to step into alignment with heaven itself. The faithful must prepare, for the day has already been set apart, and the one who marks the times has already written its significance into the eternal story. The call to the faithful is not a call to a select few because of their own strength or perfection, but rather because they have chosen to walk in steadfastness. They are those who, despite the shifting tides of culture, despite the temptations of compromise, and despite the pressures to conform, have kept their eyes on the one who called them. This call is not about status, not about outward religion, and not about appearances. It is about the condition of the heart. The faithful are those who remain loyal in the secret places, who stand firm when no one is watching, who resist the allure of idols though the world around them bows. Such Christians are marked not by their might, but by their surrender, not by their power, but by their obedience. In every generation, there arises a line of separation between those who follow the ways of the world and those who remain set apart. The faithful are not perfect people, but they are committed people. They stumble, yes, but they do not abandon their walk. They may feel weak, but their weakness becomes strength because they place it into God's hands. Their loyalty is proven not in moments of ease, but in moments of testing. When others trade conviction for convenience, they choose conviction even at cost. When others bend their knees to the idols of comfort, money, or reputation, they stand upright in loyalty to their Creator. To be among the chosen faithful is to live as one who is in the world, but not of it. It is to feel the pull of this present age and yet refuse its chains. It is to endure the ridicule of those who cannot understand why you will not compromise. The faithful are often misunderstood, sometimes mocked, and occasionally rejected. But they are not moved, for they know their allegiance is not to the approval of men, but to the will of God. This is why the call is so important, because without clarity, many will falter when opposition rises. Yet those who are chosen will hear the call and stand, even if they must stand alone. The call to the faithful is also a call to readiness. It is not enough to claim belief with the lips, while the heart drifts toward distraction. Faithfulness requires watchfulness. The chosen cannot afford to sleep in a time of shaking. They must be sober, alert, and spiritually awake, for the hour is urgent. This readiness is not about predicting the exact moment of events, but about living as if every day might be the day when heaven breaks through. The faithful live with oil in their lamps, prepared for the bridegroom to come, refusing to be caught off guard when the trumpet sounds. Furthermore, faithfulness is demonstrated in devotion. The chosen are not content with shallow religion. They pursue intimacy with the one who has chosen them. They spend time in prayer, in the Word, and in fellowship with Him. Their loyalty is cultivated not by force, but by love. For they know they have been loved with an everlasting love, and their response is wholehearted devotion. This devotion strengthens them in trial and anchors them when storms rage. It is what will sustain them on that day of convergence, August 25, 2025, when the faithful are separated from the complacent. Above all, the call to the faithful is a call to courage. In an age when compromise is easy and faithfulness is costly, courage becomes the mark of those who truly belong to God. They are willing to stand against the current, to speak truth when lies abound, to shine light when darkness presses in. Their courage is not born of pride, but of trust. They know who holds the future, and so they walk boldly, even when the path leads into fire. Thus, the chosen Christians are defined by their unwavering faith, their readiness to obey, and their loyalty in the face of pressure. This call is not to some abstract group far away. It is to every believer who would choose to live set apart. The hour demands such a people. The date approaches as a reminder, and those who answer the call will find themselves strengthened, upheld, and prepared to fulfill their destiny in the unfolding story of God. The day that is coming will not only be marked by the weight of divine appointment and the call to steadfastness, it will also be a day of blessing for those who have walked faithfully. Blessing is not simply material gain, though at times it may manifest in provision. True blessing is the touch of heaven upon the life of the believer. It is the lifting of burdens that have weighed heavily for years. It is the breaking of chains that have held destinies back. It is the opening of doors that seemed sealed shut by human impossibility. On August 25, 2025, For those who are chosen and faithful, there will be a release of what has been long delayed, a release of what was promised, but not yet received, a release of answers to prayers sound with tears. Many have carried silent struggles, unseen by the world, but known in heaven. Some have labored in prayer for loved ones, for healing, for direction, for breakthrough. Others have pressed forward under the weight of discouragement, wondering if their obedience has been in vain. The day that comes will serve as a reminder that nothing surrendered to God is wasted. Every tear, every sacrifice, every act of obedience has been recorded. And there comes a time when God says, "Enough, let the harvest be reaped." Blessing will come as a lifting of heaviness, as the moment when the faithful realize they have not carried their burdens alone, but that the hand of the Almighty has been holding them through it all. Doors will open that no man could open. Opportunities that once seemed far beyond reach will suddenly stand before the faithful. These are not doors of chance, but doors of destiny. Some will step into callings they sensed, but could never enter before. Others will see restoration in areas long thought lost, relationships healed, provisions supplied, dreams reignited. What was locked will be unlocked, not by human force, but by divine decree. When God opens a door, no one can shut it. And when He shuts a door, no one can force it open. This day will mark such moments of transition, where the chosen will see His hand move in ways undeniable. Yet blessing is not only about external circumstances. The greatest blessing is internal transformation. On that day, the faithful will find renewed strength. Weariness will give way to fresh courage. Confusion will give way to clarity. Fear will give way to peace. The presence of God will settle upon those who have sought Him, and with that presence will come a confidence that no trial can shake. Blessing is the assurance that no matter what storms rage outside, there is an anchor within that holds secure. It is important to see that blessing does not mean an escape from challenge. Often, blessing comes intertwined with responsibility. A new door may open, but it will lead into a new assignment requiring faith and endurance. A chain may break, but freedom will demand stewardship. The faithful will not simply be blessed to rest. They will be blessed to build, to serve, to stand as lights in the darkness. The day of blessing will be a day of empowerment, equipping believers to walk in their purpose with greater authority. For those who are chosen, August 25th, 2025 will be remembered not as an ordinary day, but as a day when heaven touched earth in personal ways. Some will testify of miracles, others of breakthroughs, still others of inner renewal. The blessings will not all look the same, but they will carry the same fingerprint of divine intention. It will be undeniable that God has moved, that He has seen the faithful, and that He rewards those who diligently seek Him. This is the promise that those who have labored in faith will see fruit. Those who have endured trials will see deliverance, and those who have trusted in silence will hear the whisper of affirmation. Blessing is not earned by perfection, but given through grace to those who remain true. And when it comes, it will not only change circumstances, but transform lives, setting the chosen upon a higher path for the days ahead. The day that is coming will not only carry blessing, it will also bring testing. For every gift released, there is a responsibility entrusted. For every open door, there is a challenge to walk through it with faith and perseverance. For every chain that breaks, there is a call to steward freedom with discipline and holiness. Testing is not punishment, but refinement. It is the fire that purifies the gold, the storm that reveals the strength of the foundation, the shaking that separates what is temporary from what is eternal. Those who are chosen cannot expect only ease, for destiny is never birthed in comfort. It is forged in trial. On August 25, 2025, many will feel the tension between blessing and battle. While burdens may lift and doors may open, new responsibilities will immediately follow. Some will be thrust into positions of influence that they never sought, and with that influence will come opposition. Others will be drawn into conflicts they never imagined facing, spiritual battles that will require them to put on the full armor of God. Testing will not come to destroy the faithful, but to strengthen them, to prove their loyalty, and to prepare them for greater purposes. Just as a soldier cannot be entrusted with command without first enduring the trials of training, so the chosen cannot step into their destiny without being refined by testing. Testing will take different forms. For some, it will be external, resistance from people, pressure from systems, hostility from the world. The faithful may face rejection, ridicule, or misunderstanding as they rise into their assignments. For others, the testing will be internal, the struggle against doubt, fear, or temptation. Old weaknesses may resurface, not to defeat, but to be conquered once and for all. The chosen will discover that the very areas they once stumbled in may become the battlegrounds where they find ultimate victory. The testing is personal, tailor, made for each soul, designed not to crush, but to reveal what has been hidden inside. In the midst of testing, the faithful must remember that God does not test to condemn, but to elevate. When Abraham was tested with the command to offer Isaac, it was not to destroy him, but to reveal the depth of his faith and to position him as the father of nations. When Israel was tested in the wilderness, it was not to abandon them, but to shape them into a people who could inherit the promise. In the same way, the chosen Christians on this appointed day will face trials that are not meant to end them, but to prepare them for what lies ahead. The testing is the evidence of calling. Testing will also separate the genuine from the counterfeit. Those who followed for convenience will falter when the fire comes, but those who are truly consecrated will emerge stronger. The refining process will burn away impurities, selfish motives, hidden pride, misplaced trust, and leave behind a faith that is unshakable. It is through this process that the chosen are transformed from ordinary believers into vessels of honor, ready for every good work. The faithful must embrace testing with courage, not fear. It is easy to rejoice in blessing, but the greater strength is to rejoice in trial, knowing that trial produces perseverance, and perseverance character, and character hope. The day of testing will be a day of opportunity to grow, to mature, to rise into a new dimension of faith. The chosen will discover that what they thought would break them actually builds them, that what they thought was loss actually positions them for gain. Therefore, the coming day must not be seen only as a day of relief, but as a day of responsibility. Blessing and testing will walk hand in hand. The faithful must be prepared not only to receive, but to endure, not only to rejoice, but to fight, not only to rest in victory, but to rise in battle. In this balance, they will find their destiny. For it is not those who avoid testing who are chosen, but those who pass through it and come forth shining like refined gold, prepared for the purposes of heaven. The appointed day will not exist in isolation, nor will it be hidden in obscurity. It will stand as a sign to the world, a marker that heaven has spoken, and that history is under divine direction. Signs are not mere coincidences. They are messages written across time and space for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. Throughout Scripture, God has used signs to awaken His people, to warn nations, and to confirm His promises. The rainbow was a sign of covenant. The stars were signs to the wise men seeking the newborn king. And the destruction of the temple became a sign of judgment upon a nation that had turned from God. In the same way, August 25th, 2025 will function as a sign, not just for individuals, but for the body of believers and for the watching world. A sign has two purposes: to reveal and to direct. It reveals what is already true but unseen, and it directs the faithful toward what they must do next. This day will reveal the condition of the church, distinguishing between those who walk in consecration and those who drift in complacency. To some, the day will feel ordinary, passing without notice, because their hearts are dulled to the things of God. But to the chosen, the day will bear witness to his hand. They will feel the stirring, the shift, the weight of significance pressing upon their spirits. It will be a confirmation that God has not abandoned his people, that he is still active in guiding them, and that the times we live in are not random but intentional. As a sign, this day will also direct the faithful. It will call them to readiness, reminding them that time is short and that their lives are not to be wasted in distraction. It will urge them to consecrate themselves, to put aside trivial pursuits, and to live with eternal perspective. The faithful will sense the urgency to rise to their calling, to shine brighter in the midst of darkness, to walk boldly in truth while the world stumbles in confusion. The sign will not simply be for comfort, but for mobilization. It will be a trumpet summoning God's people to stand in alignment with his purposes. The world itself, even if blind to the spiritual reality, will also feel its impact. Signs are not only for the faithful, they are also warnings for the unrepentant. Nations may see turmoil, economies may shake, leaders may falter, and events may unfold that reveal the fragility of human power. In such moments, the faithful will understand that what appears as chaos in the natural is in fact a sign of God's hand moving in judgment and in mercy. For while judgment shakes, mercy calls. The sign is not only to announce what is coming, but to invite repentance, to turn hearts back to the one who governs history. It is vital to remember that a sign is never the end in itself. It always points to something greater. The sign of this appointed day is not merely about a date circled on a calendar. It is about what God is doing in and through his people. It is about the separation of light from darkness, the calling forth of the faithful from the complacent, the unveiling of God's purposes in a moment when the world desperately needs clarity. For the chosen, the day will serve as confirmation and commissioning. For the world, it will stand as a witness, either heeded as a call to turn or ignored as a warning rejected. Thus, August 25th, 2025 will be a sign etched into time itself. The faithful must not dismiss it or treat it lightly. Signs are given because God desires his people to be awake, prepared, and positioned. This day will be remembered as a marker of divine communication, as the evidence that heaven still speaks and that history still bends to the will of the Creator. Those who recognize it will be strengthened. Those who ignore it will be left unprepared. The sign is a gift, but only to those who see it for what it truly is. The day that comes will not conclude with blessing, testing, or even with the revelation of a sign alone. It will rise like the sound of a trumpet, calling the chosen Christians into action. A trumpet is never a sound of silence. It is never given without purpose. In ancient times, trumpets summoned armies to battle, gathered the people for assembly, or announced the arrival of a king. The sound was urgent, clear, and unmistakable. So it will be on August 25, 2025, a day that will not simply pass into history, but will ring like a trumpet blast to those who are awake. The trumpet call is a summons to rise. For too long, many have slumbered in complacency, lulled by the noise of the world, distracted by the temporary, content with living in shadows of mediocrity. The trumpet does not allow such comfort to continue. It pierces through distraction, demanding attention. It calls the faithful to rise from passivity into purpose, from silence into witness, from hesitation into boldness. The trumpet is not background music, it is the sound of destiny. The chosen will feel its call deep within, urging them to take their place in the unfolding plan of God. It is also a call to stand. The days ahead will not be easy. They will be marked by opposition, shaking, and the collision of kingdoms. The faithful cannot afford to waver when truth is challenged. They cannot afford to bend when pressure mounts. The trumpet is a call to take one's stand firmly, to plant feet upon the foundation that cannot be shaken, to refuse compromise even when compromise seems easier. It is the reminder that light must shine most brightly when the darkness is greatest. Those who hear the call must resolve to stand as witnesses, unashamed of their faith, unbroken by the threats of the world, unwavering in their allegiance to the eternal King. The trumpet call is also a summons to action. It is not enough to believe quietly in the heart while the world groans in need of hope. Faith must move into motion. The chosen Christians are called to be salt and light, to bring preservation where decay spreads, to bring illumination where blindness prevails. The trumpet does not sound for spectators, it sounds for participants. Those who hear it must act, whether in prayer, in service, in proclamation, or in acts of compassion. Each will be called according to their gifting, but none are called to remain idle. The trumpet demands response. This day, therefore, will mark not an end, but a beginning. The trumpet call does not signal completion, but initiation. It is the sound of the race beginning, not the race finishing. For the faithful, it will mark a fresh commissioning, a new chapter, a deeper level of responsibility. It will remind them that they were not saved to sit in comfort, but to walk in mission. The trumpet calls the chosen to remember who they are, ambassadors of a kingdom not of this world, carriers of light in a generation clouded by darkness, voices of truth in a sea of deception. Above all, the trumpet is a call to readiness. Just as the watchmen of old would lift their horns to warn the city of approaching danger, so too this trumpet warns that the hour is urgent. There is no time to waste in distraction, no room to linger in compromise. The faithful must lie prepared, their lamps filled with oil, their hearts consecrated, their eyes fixed on eternity. For the trumpet is not a sound to be ignored, it is a sound that divides those who are awake from those who are asleep. Thus, August 25, 2025 will not be a quiet day for those who are chosen. It will resound as a trumpet, calling them to rise, to stand, to act, and to live in readiness. It will mark them as people of action, not of apathy, as warriors of light, not as prisoners of fear. And as they answer the call, the world will see in them the evidence that heaven is moving, that the kingdom of God is advancing, and that the faithful are prepared to walk boldly into their destiny.